In our last video, I was talking about how cool clocks are and that you can divide them like a circle and to half with two equal 30s on each side. Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you how clocks are even cooler than that. So, I'm going to show you how you can take a clock and divide it even further into fourths. Not even into halves, but into fourths. Like that. Into 4 equal pieces. Let me show you that. Whoops. So, I'm going to take our picture of our clock face. And again, we talked about how we could divide it into 2 equal halves. If the whole is 60, then the 2 equal halves are 30, because 30 plus 30 equals 60. So a half an hour, or a half of an hour, equals 30 minutes. Now, it's really important to also know about fourths on a clock, because fourths will really, really help you when you're telling time to the minute. So, we take our clock and we divide it in half. Then we divide it one more time so we make a perfect right side up cross inside the clock. Now, if I know that this half equals 30 and this half equals 30, what does this fourth equal? What does this fourth of the clock equal? Well, we can count it by fives again to figure it out, unless you know what half of 30 is. So let's start. 0, 5, 10, 15. So, counting by fives has told me that 1/4 of the 4/4 of the clock equals 15 minutes. That's pretty important stuff when we're telling time to the quarter hour or to the 15 minute, as we like to say. A quarter, the word quarter means fourth. So there are 4 quarters in $1. And there are 4 quarters of an hour in a clock, or 4/4. Sometimes we call them quarters, sometimes we call them fourths. You should know both. A quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. So this is a quarter of an hour right there. And since we know that this is like fractions and that they're all going to be the same size, I can't fit the word fraction on there, we know that all these quarters are going to have the same amount in them. They're all going to have 15 minutes. Just to be sure, you can say 5, 10, 0, 5, 10, 15. This has 15 minutes also. Whoop. So, if we think of a clock, we can divide it into halves, and we can also divide it into fourths. Dividing it into halves is going to help you tell time by the 30 minute or by the half hour, if you know about a half of a clock. Okay? When you divide it into fourths, it's going to help you tell time to the 15 and to the 45, because you're going to know about quarter hours. or fourths of a clock. So that's pretty important stuff. Now, let's just make sure we know everything equals each other. If we know that all these sections here equal 15, then 2 15s must equal 30, which is the half hour. So let's just make sure. We have 15 plus 15. Now we know that we have 2 10s. So we know we have 20. And then we have 2 5s, which equals 10. 20 plus 10 is 30. So 2 15s do equal 30. And if we add another 15 to it, that would be 30. So we know these 2 15s equal 30, right? Because we have 15 plus 15 equals 30. Now let's add another 15 to it and see what this equals. 30 plus 15, 30 plus 10 is 40. And 0 plus 5 is 5. So we know that 30 plus 10 equals 45. So 3/4 of a clock, 3/4 of a clock, right here. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4 of a clock is 45. So if we talk about 4/4, or the whole clock, well, we know that 4/4 or the whole clock would be 60, because one way around the clock is 60 minutes. But just to be sure, let's try that. Let's try 45 plus 15 more. Well, I know 40 and 10 is 50. And 5 and 5 is 10. And 50 plus 10 is 60. So if we're talking about 4/4 of the clock, we're talking about a full 60 minutes. So there is a lot to erase here. But let's look at our full clock again and how cool it is to divide this circle up into fourths. We know that 1/4 is 15 minutes. Then we know that 1/2 is 30 minutes. And then we know that 3/4 of the clock is 45 minutes. So if we go 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, here we have 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and then if we have a whole hour, we have 60 minutes. So now we know that each chunk, if you divide it into fourths, is worth 15 minutes. Pretty cool stuff.